All right, we are back recapping the round one of the NFL draft. Here are all 32 picks that were made in the first round. Here's my Twitter or X, whatever you prefer. Here's the underscore YZ, same as everything else. Feel free to follow it. But anyway, starting out, we're just gonna go from number 1 to 32. I feel like it's pretty obvious. We're gonna talk about how I feel about the pick and give it a letter grade. Starting out, Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans. I'm just gonna give this one a flat out A. Maybe an A minus, A minus. It kind of hovers around in between them. This is a great pick for the Titans. They were quarterback need to go into the draft. In my personal opinion, this was the only round one quarterback. First overall, though, I don't necessarily think so, but I do think quarterback was such a big need for them that it was a good pick. I think they could have waited till the second round, but at the same time, then you kind of be like, oh, well, there's not really anyone else who's worth taking. So because, this was the only round one quarterback, I do think it was a bit early for him. I would have probably gone probably around where the Jets were picking, Jets, Panthers, Saints. But ultimately, you had the number one overall pick. I think this is a good pick by you guys. Establishing your future. Number 2, A+, Travis Hunter. Yes, you gave up a first round pick in next year's draft to get so, but this is a one, this guy can be a star at both cornerback and wide receiver, and I personally think in the Jaguars scheme, I think he will be. Originally, the Browns were supposed to make this pick, but the Jaguars traded up from 5 to 2. This is the best player in the draft, and everyone knew he was going at 2. Everyone knew the Titans were going to take quarterback, so it was a matter of who's going to get Travis Hunter at 2. Top tier pick, A+. Yeah, you gave up the first next year, but I do think he is genuinely going to be worth it. I think that he has Hall of Famer, first ballot, written all over him. I think he's going to get his jersey retired by the Jaguars as well. Number 3, we have Abdul Carter to the Giants. I'm going to go A here. This is a good pick. There are a bit of concerns. He is a huge Eagles fan, so him going to the Giants is, in my opinion, is going to pose a lot of questions of, is he intentionally going to sell those games against the Eagles? Could be a possibility. Now, I personally don't think that will happen, but it's just kind of something that will be in the back of the mind of me and potentially other people. But this was also another guy who was pretty much guaranteed a top 3 or maybe not top 3, top 5 pick. And for him to go at 3 to the Giants is not unreasonable. I'm going to give this one an A. Like I said, the only issue is his bias towards the Eagles and them being the Giants. I think if this was an AFC team or, literally just any team that wasn't in the NFC East would have been an A+. Number 4, we have the Patriots going Will Campbell. Same thing. Going to take an A. You're going to notice a lot of A's here in the first round or in the first 10 picks. This was easily the Patriots' first or second need. They're getting a good tackle or he can even play a bit of guard to defend their future in Drake May. And don't be surprised if they make a run. Yes, the Patriots don't have the greatest offense. The running back room and receiving room is both questionable at the moment. But I do think the receiver room, especially the receiver room, and the running back room early on in the second, which conveniently enough for the Patriots is where they'll be picking. I think both those positions run deep into day 2. So I think both positions have a chance for the Patriots to go round 2 and round 3. Or who knows, maybe even the Patriots trade up to get a second round pick. Number 5, we have Mason Graham. This was originally the Jaguars pick, but the Browns acquired it via the trade. Same thing. I'm going to give it an A. I'm probably going to go A- though. The big concern for the Browns is their offense. Who is your quarterback? There's not really a whole lot of confidence in me saying we're going to roll a Kenny Pickett or we're going to roll a Joe Flacco. I personally don't like that move. Then again, they are the first team to draft in the second round. They hold the 33rd pick. You still got a few quarterbacks available. Jalen Milroe, Shedeur Sanders. I think this was a good pick. I'm going to go A- though, because I do feel like there were bigger needs. However, if we're going straight off of best available player, I think this was, an A+ pick. So it really depends on what you want to look at. Best available, A+. Best fit for the team at this position, A-. I suppose we can actually zoom in, can't we? Yeah. Number 6, we have Ashton Jeanty, running back, A+. This was arguably someone who could have gone, first overall. This might be the best, running back prospect we've ever seen. I wouldn't go that far. He definitely is in terms of, group of 5 school. And the fact that he fell to probably the perfect fit for them in the Raiders all the way at 6, A+. There's nothing that can change my mind. This was the team who should have taken him, and the fact that he fell to him is literally perfect. A+, 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 plus. This is probably the best pick of the draft. Travis Hunter, I'm sorry. The team had to give up a first-round pick to get you. So, yeah. Number 7, Armand Membou. I'm going to go B+ here. I personally had this guy going kind of in the mid first round. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good player. I just think it was a bit too early. The only position I really see people reaching for is either A, quarterback, or B, you are that one piece away from winning it all. The Jets, in my opinion, are not in that position to win it all. So, I don't understand why they necessarily went after this guy. Maybe they see something I don't. I personally had him going more 13, 14-ish range. Maybe 12 or so. I think this is a good pick. I just think it's a bit early. I'm going to give it B+, but at the same time, B's, I know it's D get degrees, but B's also get degrees, and, well, they get you respectable ones as well. Number 8, Tetroy McMillan. Sorry if I butchered that. A+. Maybe an A, kind of teetering in between. This was easily the Panthers' biggest need. We saw Bryce Young, with the talent he had last year, take a huge step from year 1 to year 2. And without a doubt, the question was, which receiver are the Panthers going to take? I personally thought there was a chance they could have traded down, because personally, there's a drop-off. As you see, we go from 8 to 19. I personally think that was a bit early for Emeka Egbuka, but we'll get to that later. I personally think this was the best receiver in the class, and I don't really think it was close. So, A+ for that, and you didn't have to trade up for anything. The big concern now is I feel like day 2, you're going to have to kill it with all those other needs for you guys to be competitive, because I think you are officially in your window now that Bryce Young has the potential. So, yeah. Number 9, we have Kelvin Banks Jr. Same thing, B+. We knew it was a need for the Saints. We knew he was going to be a first-round pick. It's the same thing with the Jets. I thought he was a first-round talent. I thought he was kind of a mid-first, though, not top 10. Am I upset with the pick? No. For the Saints, address your need. There's 2 types of people you see in the draft. Addressing your needs and taking best player available. The Saints went with their need. I respect that. It's just I feel like it was a bit early. I feel like in this situation you probably could have traded down, honestly, but to get him. But that's nonetheless, I think this was a good pick by them. B+, like I said. That's nearly an A. There's no reason to be upset. Rounding out the top 10, we got Colston Loveland. I'm going to go with C+. Not only do I think this was early for him, I don't even think he was the best tight end in the class. Plus, you already have Cole Kmet. This pick just Ugh, why? I understand, get another weapon for Caleb Williams, but I also feel like you need to do a bit more. You tried your best to protect the O line through free agency, but there's still a lot of holes that need filled. Yes, they're not nearly as big as, some other ones. I think running back is a ginormous hole, and I feel like, unfortunately, your guy got robbed. So, and I don't think there was another guy really worthy. But that doesn't mean you go to take what will probably end up being a backup tight end unless you plan on moving on from Cole Kmet. The only way I see this pick being good is if you plan on moving from Cole Kmet. And even then, I wonder, why not take Tyler Warren? I get it, he's a better pass catcher than Warren, but all around, Warren's, in my opinion, significantly better. 11, Mykel Williams, edge for the 49ers. I think this was a great pick. I'm going to go probably A-. I think it was just a tad bit early, but it's the same thing. Drafting what your team needs, very impressive. I think this was a good pick by the 49ers. I think this is going to help them get better. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be, the Super Bowl they've experienced in the past few years, but it's definitely going to help put you on the right direction. A-, nothing to really complain about, but at the same time, this was literally like it's just a good pick. There's nothing to really be like, this is the greatest pick we've seen. At the same time, there's literally nothing to complain about besides it was a tiny bit early, which no one really cares about how early it is if it's that tiny of an issue. Tyler Booker at 12, flat out B. I had him going mid to late 20s. I think this was a bit of a reach, but the Cowboys have historically reached on their players. So, and they somehow managed to make a decent amount of them work. I do think they'll probably end up doing the same thing. I'm just going to give it a B for now, though, because they've had, a tendency to do that does not mean Tyler Booker is going to work out. I think this is a good pick. I think he was a first-round talent. I just think this was incredibly early, about the extra 12, 13 picks early. I think he literally should have gone mid-20s. But yeah, for the Cowboys, this is something they've been known to do, and they somehow make it work. So I'll give it a B with high hopes, is what we'll say. Number 13, Kenneth Grant, D tackle. A lot of these tackles I'm not really sure about. I feel like there was a lot of them who were capable of going round 1, a lot of them who could have fell to round 2, even round 3. Personally, for him, I'm gonna go probably B-, because these D tackles were all really close in rankings. Apparently, I don't really follow college football, but with the sheer amount of them that went, I imagine they were pretty good. So yeah, I'll give it a B- because I do think there were other tight ends. I'm thinking over to the next pick already. D tackles that were more important. Personally, Derek Harmon was one of them, I believe. But, nothing to really complain about. It was a decent pick. Just, like I said, a bit early, I feel like. Number 14, A+ for the Colts, Tyler Warren. He is a guy I thought would go at this point already, and the fact that he still stayed there was amazing. Yes, the Colts also need other needs, but that's what day 2 and day 3 are for. That's what round 2 and 3 are for. This was the best tight end in the class, in my opinion. Not really close. Do I think he's going to be successful? Yes. This was probably the team with the biggest tight end need, and the fact that they got the best tight end in the class is, two pieces of a puzzle just going together. I think there's going to be nothing but success for his career, especially if he stays put in Tennessee. In Indianapolis, the only concern is with Anthony Richardson still as your quarterback, how likely is he to really succeed his rookie year? So I think his career will only get better. It's all going to depend on quarterback play, unfortunately. That's one of those positions where you need a good quarterback in order to be good. or you need to literally be a top tier guy, which I'm never going to assume they're going to be the greatest in their position or by top 3. Next, Jalen Walker, A+. I had this dude going a bit earlier. I think this is a great pick, great value pick. I thought he would be a 49er for sure. It didn't end up being that way. So yeah, and there's not a whole lot to talk about. This was, like I said, a really good pick. Value-wise and fit-wise, I think the Falcons made the right move here. Walter Nolan at 16, D tackle. I said B-. I'll probably just go straight up B. I think he was a bit better than the other guy. However, like I said, I personally thought a lot of these D tackles were late round 1, early round 2 guys. I feel like a lot of these teams reached, especially, as you see teams who picked in kind of the 10 through 20 spots. And that's mainly because those D tackles would probably go off the board really early in that second round, so they probably wouldn't have a chance to get them. So, with that in mind, I'm going to give it a B. I feel like you definitely reached, but at the same time, not by a whole lot, and with your circumstance, I do understand why. 17, Shamar Stewart, edge. A, this was a good pick, addressing your need. The Bengals really have one need, and it's the word defense. So, yeah. Were there other players you could have gone after? Yeah. Were there other players you could have, taken instead and not worked out? Yeah. I think this is one of the safest picks. I think this is a guy who will pan out. I just don't know if he was, the right guy in this spot. I feel like he probably could have done better, and I'll talk about that probably at the end of the video with, my day 2 guys. Number 18, Gray Zabel. I didn't see a whole lot about this guy. I'm going to go see, flat out see. I heard a lot of good things about him. I wasn't really buying the hype. There's literally not much to say. I think he could be good. I think there's a good chance he will be. But another thing is North Dakota State, they've had a tendency to be kind of guys who don't pan out. So I'm never really too confident with that school. So I'm going to go C, but C with a lot of upside. 19, Emeka Egbuka, I'm going to go A-. I understand the pick. Chris Godwin, he seems to have a bit of an injury problem. Mike Evans, he's only getting older. But there's also some other guys who showed a lot of flashes on your team last year. I don't understand why you would necessarily take a receiver. I do think value-wise, it kind of fits. I think it was a tad bit early, but like I said, it's so close that I don't think it's worth really docking points for. It's just, he doesn't really match the fit, in my opinion. I think he would have done a lot better going to a different team. But I'll give it an A- because, like I said, he's a great player. I think he would have gone literally early 20s, so 19 is, nothing to complain about. It's just, yeah. Jahdae Barrett, A+. You have an elite corner to pair beside Pat Surtain and the upside guy of Riley Moss. Hopefully your cornerback room will be set for years to come now. And it'll only strengthen your defense. You knew your needs in this draft. You went after them. And the fact that this dude fell to 20, I personally had him being a bit better than that, is amazing. You got who you want. I would assume this is who you wanted. So you got who you wanted, and you didn't have to, waste any draft capital to go up and get him besides, the one pick that you had. So great pick here by the Broncos, and yeah, literally, I think the perfect pick for in this situation for him. 21, Derek Harmon, D tackle. A, Cam Hayward's getting old. This was, in my opinion, the next best D tackle after Mason Graham. So the fact that he fell to 21 is pretty solid. And same thing with the Broncos. This is a guy who fits your team, and you didn't have to give up anything to get him. Is amazing. The only concern is now day 2. What does it hold for you guys? You still wanted I would say now two teams looking at the Browns and the Steelers, the AFC North teams, who do need a quarterback. There are, I would say, two of them who are worthy of a round 2 pick. There's, some more after that, but I see Tyler Shaw. No. I think this is a good pick. It's just now I'm worried about quarterback is a very important position, so I wonder what exactly is going to happen in the next probably 2 rounds. Unless you sign Aaron Rodgers, but the fact that we're through round on the draft and that hasn't happened. 22, Omarion Hampton. I'm going to go B+. Maybe a flat out B. I like him. I personally thought he wasn't worth a first round pick. I thought he was the second best running back. I thought that would mean round 2. But I understand the pick. Pair up a guy with Najee who's more of, a guy who makes some physical, I don't really know, power backs. Sure. Omarion Hampton, I believe, is more of that kind of, elusive guy. So it's a good pick. It's just a bit early, but at the same time, it's the same thing with, I don't remember, I think it was the D tackles I was talking about. The Chargers pick so late in the second round that these good running backs probably won't make it to them, so I understand reaching for them, especially for the Chargers who made the playoffs last year. They're in a position to win now. I think it's a good pick. 23, Matthew Golden, A+. This is perfect. This dude I had going at like 15 or something to the Falcons or to the Cardinals. I don't remember which one. The fact he fell 23 to the Packers is amazing. Mark Murphy's final draft, and he ends up getting a receiver. The fans happy. With Christian Watson being injured, this is a good pick. It now poses the question, though, of are the Packers going to keep all 5 of these receivers? Because Christian Watson's injured, so I imagine they'll keep him until he's healthy. Romeo Doubs has character issues. Jaden Reed never really took a step up, and Dontavian Wicks can't catch the football, and they're obviously going to keep Matthew Golden. So it kind of poses the question, which receiver, if any, are they going to get rid of? So I do think this was a good pick. However, value-wise, this is who I would have taken in this position, but there definitely were bigger needs. But the good thing is with cornerback, who I think is their biggest need, day 2, there are so many cornerbacks. So yeah. Donovan Jackson at 24. I'm going to give this one an A-. I personally didn't have this guy going in the first round, but for the Vikings, protecting your future in J.J. McCarthy, plus you went 14-3, so you're kind of in a win-now position as well. This is really good. I think there were other positions that were big needs, but at the same time, J.J. McCarthy, who just suffered a season-ending injury last year, last thing you want is for him to suffer a second one while he is your franchise guy. You don't really have a backup in plan. That will be, Sam Darnold. So I think this is an A-. You could have done better, but at the same time, this is the smart move. 25, we have a trade pick. We have Jackson Dart. This one, I'm going to give a B+, A-. I'm going to give it both of them. If there was one that was in between, I'd give it. I didn't really have any guys going or any other quarterbacks going round 1 that I thought were worth it. If there was going to be one, it probably would have been Shadur. But I know he has character issues. Jackson Dart, I like this pick for the Giants. It's just I feel like you wasted a trade up. I don't feel like you had to trade up to 25. The only reason I would do this is for the 5th-year option. But even then, I feel like I said, at 25, it was entirely too early. So yeah, I'm not upset with this pick. It's just I feel like it was a bit early. I feel like if you should have pulled like a Ravens or Lamar Jackson and traded up to like 32, or I don't know how valuable you guys see a 5th-year option. 26, we have another trade. James Pierce, A+. You get 2 edges that defense now is going to be lethal. you literally get two young edge rushers who will be hopefully the guys for the next 10 years. This is perfect. I had this dude better than a lot of the players who went. I had him going in the 10s round, 11 through 19. And I believe I might have had him a bit later, actually, now I think about it, but it doesn't matter. Good pick. Yeah, this is an A+. I think the Falcons knew what their needs were. They're going to get to the quarterback fast, and they're going to make him pay. 27, Malachi Starks, A+. Perfect fit for the Ravens. I had this dude going earlier. There's not much to talk about with this one. This was, like I said, at 27 and you're the Ravens, this is who you're taking. There's no question about it. A+ all across the board. This was the perfect pick for them. 28, we have Tyreek Williams. I'm going to go A. It's the Lions. They don't really have many needs. This was probably their biggest one as well, so the fact that they got it addressed, I'll give it an A. I do think it was a bit early, but at the same time, it's the Lions. It doesn't really matter that much. They have such a complete roster that they could take whoever they want. They're just like the Eagles. They could take whoever they want and they'd be fine. 29, Josh Connerly. I'm going to go flat out C. I think he is a day 2 tackle. I don't think he's day 1, round 1. You can see Josh Simmons. I think he was better. So I think this was a reach. But for the Commanders, if they see the potential in this guy, I'll have faith. So I'll do what I've done with a lot of the picks I don't think are as good. C with a lot of upside. 30, Maxwell Hairston. I'm going to go C+. I do think this was the second best corner available outside of Will Johnson. This was obviously one of Buffalo's biggest needs. Will Johnson has that, injury that is scaring people away. We can't deny that now. I don't remember what I gave it. What did I say? I said B. We'll go like B- for this pick. Because like I said, I do think this was their need. I do think this wasn't the best at the position. We'll actually just change it to flat out B. It's a B. Because, yeah, it wasn't the best position, but it was the safe pick because Will Johnson, like I said, with the injury, this was a good pick for the Bills. So we'll give it a B because, yeah, there was other needs. Yeah, there was other guys at this position, but this was the safest pick at this position. A lot of, variables went into it being a B. 31, we had a trade. In 32, we also had a trade. I'm just going to announce it now. They just swapped picks. So don't be mad if I don't announce a trade for pick 32. Jahad Walker, A+. The Eagles somehow did it again. They gave up a 5th-round pick, which I don't think they were going to use. And they get a good guy. I think this guy would have gone a bit earlier in the draft, personally. A+. There's nothing to really say. The Eagles somehow did it again. Going into it, you're like, oh, they just won the Super Bowl. They are one of the most complete rosters. They don't really need anything. They can draft best available. But somehow they draft probably their biggest need, which, let's also clarify, is not really a need. It's more like a want. And they somehow managed to get him by only giving up a 5th-round pick. A+. A+. Howie, you've done it again. 32, Josh Simmons, A+. Same thing. I personally think this guy should have gone earlier. The Chiefs there to protect Mahomes. Every Super Bowl they've seen to loss has been because of the pressure that Mahomes is under. So, for you to get a guy who I think would have gone earlier in the draft, and you also get a 5th-round pick out of it, A+. Yeah. So, that's going to do it for the recap. There are a few players I want to say who I think will go very early, day 2. Will Johnson, I'm surprised he did not go round 1, even with his injury. He seriously felt like a top 10 pick, but I do think he will be off the board by the time we reach number 40. Shedeur Sanders and Jalen Milroe, I think both of these guys are going to end up going in the 2nd round. They're both quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders, the only reason I can think he fell is because of character issues. With how involved Deion Sanders is with his life, I feel like that could also be a concern, but yeah. And then Jalen Milroe, he just, isn't as talented as these other guys who've gone. I personally see these guys going one of them going to the Browns, and the other one, I don't know, maybe the Steelers, maybe the Raiders. Mike Green was someone I thought was gonna go. He didn't end up going. And then lastly, there's a Mike Green's like an edge linebacker kind of player. And lastly, there's no real specific player, but all of these running backs, I think we're gonna see a flood of them. All of these cornerbacks, I think we're gonna see a flood of them. So yeah, I know we mentioned Will Johnson. I think he deserves his own category because I think he is light years better than the next best cornerback available. So yeah, running back and corner, expect a lot of these picks, if not, probably a third of them to be running back or corner. So yeah, I will be streaming or not streaming. I will be recording my live reactions to the Packers round 2 and 3 picks, assuming they make any. So yeah, feel free to tune into those as soon as they come out. I normally post it on Twitter. But for round 4 through 7, I could record my reaction, but I will more than likely just post on Twitter how I feel about them. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time, which will be, those reaction videos. Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed.